All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome today to, welcome everyone to today's Research Success Series session. We've been very happy to be able to put on the Research Success Series again this spring semester. For more of the library's events and programming that we have, I would encourage you to go to our website, tarleton.edu/library or front slash, whatever slash that is, /library. Go down to our library calendar to see all that we have going on here. And today's topic is scholarly articles and citation management. I think this is a really good topic because this is such an important part of the research process that if you learn how to do these things efficiently and effectively, you will save yourself a lot of time, heartache, and headache. And today we have Dr. Kim Scow and Allison Nolan to help teach you some tips and tricks about scholarly articles and citation management. Go ahead and take it away, Kim.
All right, thanks, Adam. Let me get my screen share going. Sure. Are we seeing my PowerPoint slide and not the background? Okay, so yes, I'm going to be the one talking about scholarly articles today, and then Allison's going to take it over for citation managers. There we go. So first, I want to kind of cover the basic components of an article and then kind of give you some tricks on how I like to break out the components and read out of order. So traditionally, articles are always going to have an abstract, and it's written by the authors, providing a concise summary, basically highlighting the focus of their study, what's the highlight that they learned, how they did it. So that's really a great place to start always. And then you go to the introduction section. And that provides the why behind the research project. So they're introducing their topic, the purpose of the study, maybe what makes it unique or what information out in the field is missing, which is sometimes called the gap in the literature. Oh, I got that mixed up. That's actually the literature review is where you have the gap in the literature. Sorry, I mean, my notes up. So in the literature review, that's when they're kind of doing a big scale compass. You're going to go canvas the literature, read everything they can, become an expert on the topic, and find what other researchers are saying on their topic. And so they're trying to figure out what's known, what's unknown, and present that information to you. This is sometimes called the theoretical background or theoretical framework. And then the research methodology section, sometimes just called methods or methodology, is going to follow. And that article basically says how the study was performed, what they did, who their participants were, what methods they used. So that way you could actually replicate the study on your own if you had any interest in doing so. And then in the results section, they're going to actually provide the detailed data that they found in their study. So this for a quantitative study is going to be, numbers, charts, figures. For a qualitative study, they're usually studying a phenomenon. So there could be observations they did, any of your data. And then in the discussion and analysis section, they're basically kind of putting what they found in layman's terms. So it's not as numerically driven per se. They're trying to explain it in a little bit more word-friendly versions. And sometimes the discussion analysis is built into the conclusion. Sometimes it's not, but the conclusion just kind of wraps everything up in a nice little bow. They usually talk about what you could still research based on their topic. So providing recommendations for future study. And then, so now that we've kind of talked about the different components of an article, I want to just give you some tips on how to read each section, because I find it's a little bit easier if you read it out of order. Some people like to find their own flow. So this is just going to be my personal recommendation. I know other people have told me, oh, I don't read it that way, I read it this way. So you'll find something that makes sense for you the more you work with scholarly articles. But for me, I would start with the abstract because obviously this is a summary. This is telling you, is this interesting to you? Is it not interesting to you? And if this little summary does not seem relevant, there is no need to continue reading. Just skip, move on. But if the abstract seems relevant, you want to make sure you're understanding, if the article is relevant, if you're feeling like you understand what the research question is. If you're confused, sometimes it's already a sign like, well, they weren't summarizing very well. So then I like to go to the introduction and literature review sections. And I like these specifically because they're giving you a lot of other resources on your topic. So maybe this particular article kind of winds up being a dud the more you read. A lot of times I still find a lot of valuable information from other sources that they've cited that I do wind up using in my research paper. So that's why I always read this section first. And you want to make sure you're kind of understanding the objective of their research as you're reading the introduction section. Are they clearly stating the purpose? If they have definitions, do they make sense? Are they adding clarity to the article? If they're discussing, the research that's already been done on the topic, are they clearly explaining that? Are they making logical statements? You want to just make sure this is a good quality article. So trying to analyze and think critically about what they're writing is really important. And then I like to jump down to the discussion and conclusion, just to kind of see what they learned. Did they answer the research question? Was there something kind of groundbreaking about this particular article? Just to see if, this was super relevant to my topic. And you want to try to consider the interpretation that they're making in their conclusions. Does it sound logical, well thought out, or is it just like they're reaching? Sometimes they get so passionate about a concept that they really want something to be true that's not. So you want to make sure that they're basing their conclusions in their data logically and making sure that they're objective in their wording. Sometimes if you feel like their language might be considered passionate, or emotionally charged, that is kind of a warning sign that maybe this person's not unbiased in their writing. And it's very important that when you're doing research that you remain unbiased at all times. And then also, what things do they think could be further studied in their research topics? Sometimes that might actually help you think about areas that you want to study down the road. So I like to pay attention to that recommendation as well. And then, okay, if you feel like they're making incredible conclusions so far, jump down to the methods section. And that's where they're going to, explain in detail how they did their study. And you really want to make sure you feel like you could do it. If you had all of the resources available to you, you can go out and replicate the study and see if you got the same results. That's how we validate data, is by replicating. So making sure you understand what type of study you're looking at. A lot of teachers are like, you need to go find a qualitative study on this or a quantitative. Making sure that you can actually understand what type of analysis they're using. So with quantitative research, that's where they're going to have surveys, so maybe like a Likert scale between 1 and 5. Basically, they're gathering numerical data and analyzing it. And then with qualitative data, they're interviewing, they're doing surveys, focus groups. So those are things to think about when you're trying to identify what type of study you're looking at. And if you feel really confident about knowing the difference and you still can't tell the difference and what this article is, you don't want to use it if you can't tell what kind of study they're doing. But do be aware there is mixed methods. Some studies do both. And then going back to the analysis section, just kind of take a look at the data that they found and gathered and see if they're logically presenting that information. If they're using tables and charts, does that add clarity to their research, or is it actually causing more confusion? Do you understand the independent versus dependent variables? If it's a qualitative study, do you think that there's patterns that they found in the data that are making sense? So a lot of times, they're talking to multiple people, so they want to see if the people are saying the same types of things. That's a pattern that they might note in their study. And then finally, after you finish the article, I like to reread it one more time in chronological order. So at this point, I should be fairly familiar with the article. So reading again kind of cements my understanding. It allows me opportunity to make more notes. Maybe I have a little bit more insight now that I have some familiarity. And also always pay attention to citations in the article. So they're going to be citing a lot of different authors. And if you think that article sounds interesting, jump down to the reference section at the back, copy and paste that citation information into the library's discovery service. And a lot of times we're going to have access to that article and you can read that as well. And it might supplement your research. And if we don't have it, interlibrary alone is always a thing. So as I said before, that's just my recommendation. I do know some people like to start with the methods. They say that if the study isn't solid, they don't care about anything else. So you're definitely going to find your own kind of preferences on this, but this is my 2 cents. Does anybody have any questions? All right, well then I'll pass it to Allison. If you think of questions later, feel free to ask me then. Stop sharing.
Okay, Thanks, Kim. I'm going to start off by sharing my screen so I don't forget to do it later. So once you have your scholarly articles and you've read through them, then you need to decide if you're going to use them. Okay, how do I cite these? So I'm sure most of you, know at least the basic citation format for your college degree, what have you. But in case you don't, the library does have this great section on our website under Get Help, Citing Sources. And it has all these guides, both physical and online style guides for various citation formats. And then at the bottom here are some recommended citation managers. We do always try to remind people citation managers and the citations they spit out aren't always 100% reliable. Please make sure you are checking your citations in some way, whether it's with a physical style guide or an online style guide, whatever that may be, or just your own knowledge of your citation format. But citation managers are nice if you are either still sort of new to creating citations in a certain format, or if you're dealing with a large number of citations and you want a way to manage and organize them. So I'm going to show you specifically today Zotero and BidMe. So we're going to start with Zotero. I'm going to be showing you the online app version of Zotero, or not the app version, the online version. There's also a standalone app that you can download for your computer as well. But first, what I want to show you is that what's really nice is a lot of articles, especially if you are in Discovery, have an option over on the side here to cite the article in a specific format once it decides to load. My computer is being slow, so give it just a moment. But anyway, when you hit that cite button, it gives you the article information in a variety of citation formats. So it'll give you APA, MLA, Chicago, just the information of your article in a variety of citation formats. That is unfortunate that it's not working, but we're going to keep going for the moment and I'll come back to it, see if it'll work in a minute. So then for Zotero, the information that you want when you're looking to create citations is you can use either the ISSN, the DOI, you can use the URL. You don't want to use the URL that's up here. That's not going to do you any good. The URL that you want is going to be at the permalink here, which if these side buttons decide to cooperate, I will show you what the permalink looks like in just a moment. If not, you can see when you click into an article, there will be a link, and that'll be the one that you want to save for your own records to get back to a specific article. So then once you're in Zotero itself, you can add new items in a few different ways. You can either add by identifier, so that's the DOI, ISBN. So like for this one, we would take the DOI here and we'd copy, paste, and it gives you right away all of this bibliographic information. It fills it in for you, which is great. It, you know, having all this information here makes sure that you have complete citations, and it may even find information that you wouldn't know to look for. So that's one thing I really like about Zotero, is it gives you so much information when you input just one identifier. If you don't have an identifier like that, you can also input it by using this plus sign here, and you can choose book, book section, journal article, etc. Then once you have your selection of articles or other resources, what you're going to do to create your actual bibliography is there's this icon here that looks like a stack of books. It'll say create bibliography. You're going to want to select all of your articles. My mistake. So you're going to want to control, click, and select all of them, and then hit create bibliography. And it should there we go. It'll give you a bibliography in order and properly formatted and everything. And you can copy it to a clipboard and then paste it to your Word document or wherever you're housing your paper. So that is a quick overview of Zotero. And then BidMe is similar to a website like EasyBid. So if you've used EasyBid before, BidMe will be a pretty similar process. So we'll go to create citations. And then for this one, we're going to select, sorry for the background noise, there's someone on a mower outside my window. So for this one, we will select a journal, and we'll put that same DOI in and search. And it'll bring up that article for us. You can hit cite, and it'll, again, autofill some of the information. It'll make sure it's correct, or you'll make sure it's correct. And then it may have you add other information if you can find it. You'll say, are you citing just the abstract or the full article? And then you'll complete your citation. And you can choose your style as well. And then again, once you have all of your references, or even if you want to do individual ones, you can either copy the citation, you can copy a version of the in-text citation, or again, once you have your full reference list, you can then copy the entire thing or export the entire thing to wherever you're housing your paper. So that is a quick overview of both Zotero and BidMe. Again, you know, these tools are great and they're helpful. Just make sure that you are checking your citations at some point along the line to make sure that what's being generated by the computer is accurate and has all the information that you need, because none of these programs are infallible, unfortunately. But again, it is nice to have these when you are generating a large amount of citations, or you are working maybe in a format that is different than what you're used to. You know, maybe you're used to working in MLA and the project you're working on has you working in APA and you're not quite sure what those look like. So having a tool like this is nice for that. With BidMe, you may hit a point where it'll let you do so many citations that it may make you watch an ad. As long as you're willing to deal with that, it's a pretty easy site to use. You can also upgrade to get, you know, access to different things, but for the most part, the free version gives you quite a few options to do what you need to do as far as creating and managing citations. Let me see now if the side links on this article will work for me.
You're gonna have to relaunch the search and discovery, the whole session timed out.
Okay.
There's a question in chat, Allison. Jeremy's asking, did you say that Zotero requires a subscription?
No, Zotero does let you do it for free. Like any website, you can upgrade to a paid version for more options, but you can do it for free. You just have to create an account. Same with EasyBib if you want to save things. So no, Zotero is not a subscription, which was another nice thing, was that you have so many options in Zotero without a subscription. Okay, let's try this again. There we go. So as you can see, if you hit that cite button in the different articles, it will give you your citation in various formats, and then you can export that usually to various citation management software. And then you also have that permalink that I was trying to show earlier. That is the link that you're going to want to use if you want to come back to an article. To say that's the one that you're going to want to save, because this link up here won't take you to the article itself. So the permalink is the option, is the link that you want. Okay. Did anybody else have any questions?
Hey, Allison, this is Jeremy. Can you hear me?
Yes, hi.
Hey, I was playing around with one of these, let me see, the BidMe earlier today, and it had an option where you could, like, put your paper into the program, and it would, like, I guess, check it for plagiarism. Is that something you have any experience with, and would you recommend doing that, or do you have any thoughts on that?
I actually don't have experience with that. Kim or Adam, do you have experience with using BidMe to check for plagiarism?
I haven't used BidMe. Oh gosh, it was Grammarly that I had a student trying to use the plagiarism checker, and it came about because she had plagiarized and the plagiarism checker didn't catch it. So I think it depends on the service, but the free ones don't have enough of a catalog, I feel like, of information to pull from to verify other sources. So in her instance, she had some sources that weren't scholarly articles, and so it wasn't checking against that resource. So for me, they're iffy. They're a good place to start, but definitely you need to know APA and formatting properly yourself as well.
Yes, thank you, because I didn't know enough to answer that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, just looking at the chat real quick here. Thank you, Kim, for the note, because I totally skipped. Permalinks don't work in Zotero as a way of like retrieving your item. You can't put that in as the URL. Putting in an item as putting in a URL as an identifier is good if you're doing it for a website. For Zotero, for articles, you usually want the DOI or the ISSN. And then someone said there's a Microsoft Word add-in for Zotero as well. And there's also a browser extension. I didn't highlight that here just because it is a couple steps to do it, and I didn't want to But yeah, you can make it a browser extension as well, which is really handy if you find an article and you don't want to forget it, you can click on the browser extension and it'll save it for you, which is really nice. Yeah, and the word add-in is nice as well. I haven't used it in a while, but from what I remember, it is very handy. So thank you for mentioning that.
We have
Any
any
other-
questions for Kim or Allison? Allison, we're going to say something. Sorry if I cut you off there.
Nope, I was just asking the same thing you were asking. Sorry about that.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kim and Allison, for highlighting these resources and granting us the wisdom that we need in how to read the scholarly articles and use the citation management softwares. Very helpful stuff. Thank you, everyone, for attending today's session. And if you've attended multiple sessions of this series, thank you so much for that as well. Never hesitate to reach out to the library for further assistance for any step of the research process. We are here and happy to help you in any way that we can. So thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of your day.